Hi, everybody. I am going to share a little bit with you today of where therapy is met with the Bible. So, if you are new to this channel, if you haven't tuned in for a while, because I haven't posted anything in a while, let me just remind you why I even started this. It is to help those of you that are desiring to pair your mental health with scripture, to be able to do that effectively. I want to teach you how to think biblically about your mental health and all aspects of it. God does. It's very clear to me in scripture that, of course, he thinks biblically, but he has a lot to say about our mental health, and everybody has it, no matter what. If you have a diagnosis or not, you have mental health to contend with. And so it is a week before Christmas as I'm recording this. And I just wanted to let you know that I've been working my way through the book of Luke. And it's been a challenge that I took on that I heard somewhere. And I'm so glad that I'm doing this because I read a chapter a day, or sometimes I read a few because I get behind. But the goal is by the time that you get through the whole book of Luke, it's Christmas Eve. And you've read the whole, at least one account of Jesus's life, his birth and his ministry and his death and resurrection. And it is just awesome. It's a fantastic way to focus on what this season really is about for believers. So I'm going to share with you a short passage that I think has a lot of therapeutic meaning. And it is from chapter 10 of Luke, verse 38. And this is the story of Martha and Mary. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to them. She had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." So that story is probably familiar to you. I know it is to me, but when I read it recently, it just spoke to me about Christmas. It spoke to me about this season. You know, one thing that probably all of us have in common, no matter how we celebrate this or what that looks like, is it brings on stress. There is such thing as good stress, right? It's not always a negative, overwhelming thing. It can just be that, there's so many wonderful things going on. But that's kind of precisely my point. There's so many things pulling at our time and our attention, and they all seem so important. And if you are the Martha in this story, like I am, everything seems like it really matters. I have no problem admitting that in this story, that is absolutely who I am and who I have always been. I care about making people feel comfortable. I'm very hospitable. I love to, make all the nice things possible for the experience to be something really special. But what goes along with that is sometimes losing sight of what really, really matters. The people in your presence, being mindful of the time that you have with them and not letting your brain constantly be thinking about what needs to be done now to close up for the party, or you know where I'm going with that. And so no matter who you are, no matter your gender, you are going to be able to relate to one of these two ladies in this story by the characteristics that they possess. And so the way that this reminds me so much of Christmas is a lot of us want the Martha qualities, right? We see all the things coming through social media or through our churches or our friends or family, and they're wanting us to do this and that, and everything seems so important. Everything seems like an experience that we want for our families or for ourselves, but it's not possible in basically 25 days before in the month of December, or even the season itself. There's just not enough time to do all of that. And so we are faced with that same decision of what matters most. And so as a therapist, I want to encourage you, because I know what's on the other side when you do this. Choose at least one activity or one thing during this season, even though we have a week until the day. Choose something that really matters to you, something that has meaning, and something that a year down the road or a couple of years down the road, you're going to remember this and say, that's the year I started that thing. That tradition began, and it's going to be special. Every year you might go see Christmas lights. Every year you go Christmas shopping. Every year you gather with family and friends. That's wonderful. And I think that if I'm thinking about how the Lord might convey that to us, he would say there's nothing wrong with those things. They're great things. But what he says here is she chose what is better, and it cannot be taken away from her. So think about the experiences that create value and meaning in your own life, that help you to focus on what happened, what's going on that we're celebrating right now. The birth of Jesus, the life of Jesus coming into this world, breathing our air, walking this earth, knowing what he came to do. It's so special. It's the most special thing ever for believers. And so I just want to encourage you, get the attention of people in your family or whomever it is that you share your time with, because they cannot read your mind. And it might be something different for them. But if you are really looking forward to doing something, speak up, be assertive, and let people know this is really important to me. I want to make sure that we make time to do this very thing because it's special. And I hope that you remember that what's wrapped up into what I'm sharing here is Jesus knew how to set boundaries. He knew how to set boundaries, and he knew how to very gently point out when someone was choosing a boundary that was more honoring to him than someone else might be, right? All things are great, but he's saying what she chose is better. It puts an eternal deposit in your relationship with me when you do these things. So thinking about sitting at the feet of the Lord, what does that look like for you in this season? What do you need it to be? Now I'm not talking about going and doing the one activity or the one thing that seems really special to you. Sitting at the Lord's feet, what is that? Is that spending time with him? Is that reaching out to a relative that you know is really struggling with loneliness right now? What is that very thing that is focused on what matters the most? Something that cannot be taken away from you, something that's putting a deposit in yourself or someone else, and go and do that. And while you're at it, let me just do a little promo here. This makes a really great stocking stuffer. Okay, I have had this book for a very, very long time. Let me show you. It is just the miniature version of Boundaries. Like, it actually has the pages in here. It's very, very shortened, of course, for most of the chapters. But if you have been trying to talk to somebody in your life about boundaries, maybe for the relationship you have with them, or maybe because you think that they need the boundaries, this is a real good reminder. And again, this book is so awesome because it ties scripture in, and it just shows you this is not some strictly psychological method or concept. This is something that God came up with. So with that being said, have a Merry Christmas. However you choose to celebrate this, let it be special, let it be meaningful. Take time to reflect on what this is all about. And I just hope that the Lord blesses you and your family and your friends very, very richly, will keep you safe going into 2025. And I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.